Mystics. Hey, do you ever have a phrase that kind of comes into your brain, echoes around a little bit, and you think, I wonder if that means something? That doesn't seem like something I would say or that I would come up with on my own. That's kind of what we're talking about today. I had an experience like that, and I think you might think it's kind of interesting as well, and maybe it will mean something to you. So let's get into the conversation. Let's get started.
This is a production of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners. Please help us keep the conversation going by rating, liking, and subscribing to this podcast. Thank you. Also, make sure to check out our other podcasts, Hope for Humans, funny, usable conversations to help change the world around you, and Got a Minute Mini Podcast, presenting funny stories and independent music, all in about 15 minutes. Now, here's Jay and Anjanette Webster.
Fellow Mystics, welcome back to the podcast. Hello, Anjanette.
Hey, how are you today?
I am brilliant. Thank you for asking.
I don't think you can say it like that.
No, brilliant as in, no, I'm not describing an attribute.
Intellect.
Yeah,
I'm
just
you
describing. I'm just describing the place I am in, my emotional state, my happiness. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, like
okay.
the Orbitz commercial, wasn't that the thing they had?
That's right.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's the English expression of brilliant.
Well, I'm glad you're brilliant. I'm doing okay.
Thank you
I mean,
very
pretty
much.
good. Yeah, fair and partly cloudy.
You're not brilliant, you're saying.
Well, no, everything's fine. Just this.
Everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's
good. It's good. You said, why did you tell me about the cedar levels? Like the red cedar.
Yeah.
It's bad.
So
it's
for those of
pre-allergies.
you who don't live in the center of the known universe, Oklahoma, you may not know that we are ground zero for cedar pollen right now. I mean, they will just tell you.
In the world, right?
I was literally listening to a national broadcast, a news broadcast, and they said, so pollen is at an all-time high, and this is the nexus of it. This is the zero. If you are here within the sound of my voice, get out of Oklahoma. And that happens
Zip
to you.
code 74003.
Yeah, that happens to be right where we live.
Yeah.
Which is not unlike...
Because it's all fired up, right?
Yeah, but 2 years ago we had, and we live in what they call Tornado Alley, so we're used to tornadoes. And as they say, when the tornado alarms go off, that's your sign to go out to the front porch and look.
Yeah, no, that's
Some
totally
people
right.
take shelter. We just go, let's get out there and see it's coming.
Let's go see it.
And so the last bout we had with a tornado, they all but gave our address. So they said, okay, this tornado is skipping over the city of Barnsdall. It's tracking to the northeast and this, and this. And if you are at the high school, if you are within 2 blocks of the high school, that's us.
Yeah.
Then
we're 1 block from the high school.
You might as well kiss it goodbye.
Yes, it was bad. Somehow we made it.
Yeah.
This is not a tourism commercial
and it
for
actually
our state, right?
It kind of leapfrogged us, and
there are really good things about Oklahoma. I will say, between the allergies and the tornadoes.
If you were watching the national news last week, you learned a new term.
Well, oh gosh!
And that's when we had what they called fire-nados.
No, stop it!
No, I'm telling you, it sounds like a movie that they would put on FX, like the Sharknados.
The Sharknado?
No, this was a thing that actually happened on the panhandle
of Oklahoma.
We had wildfires and everything got all worked up and all the winds happened. And while they were getting snow, like 2 feet of snow, like record-breaking snow on the East Coast, we were having fire-nados.
And what's a fire-nado?
That is when you have these huge grass fires and acres and acres are fired at one time, and the winds whip it such a way that it all gets this energy built up, and there are literally spinning fires like the apocalypse.
Like fire cyclones. Yeah. And was that what happened to Moses and the burning bush?
That's what I imagine. If you look at Charlton...
Was it a cedar bush?
If you go back and watch Charlton Heston and you see the animation, it looks like that.
Okay, it's cedar trees, not cedar bushes, because that
cedar
would be
trees,
funny.
Right.
I'd burn that burning bush.
Burning bush, yeah.
The cedar trees.
That's our message for the day. The world is ending, and but before we get into that, we have
the fire-nados.
Before the fire-nados, we have a couple of very quick announcements for you guys.
Good. I did take us on a tangent right off.
We have in our near future, March 13th, our next Dreamers Live event. It's going to be a great one. Tell people what they can expect at the Dreamers Live event.
Well, this is one of my most favorite events of the year. I say that every time. But this is our St. Patrick's weekend warm-up. Dreamers Live.
Yes. You cannot go into St. Patrick's cold. You will, you'll spring a liver. You'll hurt yourself.
You need to stretch.
Yeah.
And you need to be ready.
Get a little pre-corned beef. Get a little.
Yeah.
Try yourself warming up on a roast beef sandwich so you can embrace the corned beef.
Yeah. That's good. So we will have Irish-themed snacks and drinks. There will be good Irish beer, not green beer, like Guinness, Harp, that kind of thing.
That's right.
And then there will, however, be my famous Shamrock Sippers.
Yes.
And we'll have munchies, a lot of friendship. Last year we did an Irish toast.
Yeah, we'll be doing the same thing.
I think there were some limericks. I mean, it's a pretty fun time. Great place to meet people and just remember that life is good.
Yes, we'll have there'll be a lot of new people there. We're already hearing from some people that want to come out that have not been before. So anyway, if you're within the sound of my voice, if you're in the region of this area, make a plan. Be here on March 13th, 5 to 7 p.m. is cocktail hour. Even if it's horrible, it only lasts an hour or 2 hours at the most.
Oh, you mean Dream? Yeah, the event? No, it's going to be great.
Even if you hate it, you can do anything for that short period of time. But I promise you won't. You'll love it. And you'll feel better when you leave. You'll feel even better when you leave than when you got there.
Yeah, you will. And I'm just going to pray that no fire-nados or cedar tree situations impede you coming.
Speaking of Dreamers Live, if you want to know about other Dreamers Live events, or really everything that we do, you can find that information on our little newsletter. It's called The Dreamery, and it comes out once a month.
It's a full-size newsletter.
It's a full-size newsletter. You're right.
Little newsletter.
I underestimated it there, but it's a full-size newsletter. It has lots of bonus materials in it, bonus writings and columns. It's got bonus music, which you can have for free. It's got all the updates on Dreamers Live events. It tells you everything we're doing on all 3 different podcasts. And it's got pictures and all that kind of stuff. And it's electronic, so it's recyclable if you want to.
Yes, it's an e-newsletter.
It's an e-newsletter. So all you have to do is just message us with your email address, and we'll add you to the Dreamery. It's free. It comes out once a month. We don't bug you with a bunch of stuff and all that kind of jazz. But it's a great thing to get a hold of and to know everything that's going on. And so
I'm going to sign up right now.
Speaking of podcast, we don't normally tout this podcast on the air, though I think Evangeline did mention it. But we have another podcast that we call Got a Minute Mini Podcast.
Oh, the old Got a Minute Mini Podcast.
This last episode, I think, was really, really important. It references a column that we actually did a couple of years ago, kind of on the state of America and American politics and all that stuff, which we pretty much stay away from like the plague. But this was not a picking sides conversation. This was just an assessment and a kind of what to do with it. And so go, if you can, just, search out Got a Minute Mini Podcast, which is available anywhere, which means it's available everywhere. And look for the one that just says Herd Mentality / Ghostlight. Ghostlight is the song, the original song from Anjanette.
I remember that one.
That's on there, and you can hear it all for free. But it's well worth listening, and it's a mini podcast, so it's only like 15 minutes long.
Okay.
And well worth it. And
we'll do it.
That's not all.
What?
If you go to the Hope for Humans podcast, which we do, it's our other sister podcast, we just released our podcast with the kids from Central Middle School.
Oh,
yes. Yeah, it's called The Future. And it's a really encouraging, interesting podcast, and you might really find that enjoyable and inspiring to hear the kids.
Yeah.
Sixth and 8th graders.
That's right. From Central Middle School, we did the Dreamers Club podcast. It was really cute. I was going to tell you before we get into our talk.
Yeah.
I took Evangeline to, they have like this science night that they do where there's all these booths. It's a really cool event in our hometown, and there's free pizza, and the kids do all these science experiments and stuff. So I took Evangeline, and we were there, and one of the other girls from Dreamers Club was hanging out with us. A younger girl that was a 6th grader this year came up to this
younger
girl.
Classman.
Younger classman. Or she said, hey, to this older 8th grader. She said, hey, you did such a good job on the podcast the other day. And then the older 8th grader goes, oh, really? Oh, thank you. It was really cute because,
funny.
it was like it was a total thing. And it is a thing.
Yes.
But I guess my point is it's neat to know that kids are listening to it. And I could tell that the 8th grader felt pretty cool. She did do a good job. So
she did.
Anyway, it's just hearing about things from the perspective of middle schoolers, and it's pretty interesting. If you wonder what kids are thinking, we'll let you in on it.
That's right. So go check that out. That's on our Hope for Humans podcast, and you'll know the episode because it's listed as CMS Dreamers Club podcast.
Okay.
The Future is the episode. So check it out.
Nice.
And there's a couple of those on there, so you can go back even to, I think, last April. There were a bunch of them too. So there's probably 4 or 5 of those on there. So anyway, that's what you can do.
Anywho.
To fill your time. So mystics, this is so great. I heard this, sometimes you hear some phrase or something like that in your mind or your heart. You think, oh, that's an interesting, that means something that came from somewhere. And, as we like to reference, a lot of times in our experience, the things of the divine are not so analog. They're not so linear.
Yeah.
They're more like the Matrix download. Like you don't hear a sentence like in kind of sort of real time as I'm saying it to you now at the start and the finish. It comes more down as a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like the whole sentence or the whole concept is deposited in your brain.
Yes.
And then you kind of sit with that for a second. So
for Matrix fans, it's I know Kung Fu.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
what we always
download.
say.
It's the actual download. So that happened to me this week with this phrase, and I'll get to that in a minute as to what the phrase was. But
Okay.
I was thinking about this whole concept of, I was having lunch with a friend the other day, and we were talking about having kids and all that kind of stuff. And as many of you guys know, Anjanette and I had our daughter, later. We were married for 18 years. Didn't even think we wanted to have kids. And then we actually talked about it for like a year and decided, oh, yeah.
To make sure.
Let's because we had a great, and I mean,
Yeah, we had a great thing going. We did. It was pretty great.
We traveled a lot for work. We had, you could get up and go in a minute. We didn't have a lot of other obligations. We worked a lot.
We had our hopes and dreams before they were.
We were doing independent
dashed.
films, and you could do that. And an independent film can take over your life. So, to be able to do that without worrying about neglecting a child or neglecting a third person or something like that was really engaging. So, putting somebody else in the mix, you have to really consider, do we want to do this? Is that right? So then, lo and behold,
it worked.
You got pregnant and we had, you were expecting for about 22 months. And
oh, stop.
And after the initial shock and what are we going to do now and all the stuff that happens when you lay in bed and fear for this new person, there was also this wild excitement. And so in that wild excitement, there was this thing of saying, oh my gosh, there's going to be this other human, there's going to be this other chapter, and I can't wait to have these conversations with this person and to see, like you and I would describe having a kid as like the slowest gift unwrap of the world, because every day, every year or so, you pull back just another piece, another sleeve of the gift wrapping.
Paper.
Yeah, and you go, oh, that's what's in there. That's who this thing is. That's what this thing is.
Right.
And so I would think about that. And I would think about what music do we want to share with this kid, and what bands and what movies do I need to make sure she sees, and where do we need to take her, and what experiences do she need to have, and I wonder if she'll like this the way we like this. And I wonder if she'll like going to this city like we like going to this. And it's just a whole lot of just this kind of magic anticipation, wild anticipation thing.
Super sweet.
And
then they turned 14.
And then I remember even as, you were expecting this stuff, every night we would get in this routine where we would, finally go to bed at the end of the day. And then I would lean over and I would talk to your stomach. I would engage.
It was a little awkward for me.
I would engage our daughter, and we would laugh about the day and the things that we saw and what happened. And then I would say, hey, and if you want to come out early, you can.
And she was 3 weeks early. I blame it on you.
And so anyway, it was, despite all the other things that are involved in it, the physical discomfort, especially for you, and then, the kind of sort of the fear you have and trying to get to a proselyte, especially the first time. But all of it was, so much of it was this eager anticipation. I can't wait for this person to come out. I can't wait for this person to be there, to be here. And then when she was born, it was just, all these different first, taking her to this place first and this place. And that was what our experience was like in that. And I think, to me, I reference that even to what Jesus says, that if that's your experience as terrible parents in comparison, just imagine what it's like for the perfect father, for the perfectly
cool.
And so in that, I was putting my mind around the amount of love, the amount of anticipation, the amount of joy, the amount of thoughtfulness that God has in us being born and us being created.
Yeah.
And in all that experience and in all that time, what was never prevalent, what was never anticipated in all that stuff was the sense of, I can't wait to discipline that child. I can't wait to raise that child with a set of rules and obligations. I can't wait to have this cold, distant relationship with a child where I withhold myself from them and make them try and seek me in some other way. And yet, throughout a lot of our experience in the 80s and 90s and still now, so much of the energy is built on judgment. So much of the energy is spent on discipline and and this fear of, does God really love me? Does he really know me? Does he really anticipate me?
Right.
And so we grew up with this sense, and we still hold on to this sense of kind of judgment or discipline and wondering if God loves us. And the phrase that I heard in my mind a couple of days ago was, it was never about judgment. That was never the goal. That was never the primary. Certainly with Evangeline, and if you've ever had kids or been a kid or thought about having parents or whatever.
Thought about having parents?
Obviously.
Thought about being parents?
Obviously, discipline or judgment or any of those things plays a role in our relationships and all that kind of stuff. But, with Evangeline, as with any kid, as with any of us, that was oriented towards saving our lives, keeping us out of traffic and the things that could harm us or get in the way of us. Or
it becomes necessary.
It becomes necessary, but it was never the goal.
No, that's
it was never the focus. It was never the thing.
It's not what you're looking forward to. You're looking forward to sharing things with that person.
Yeah.
And then when you see danger, headed, that's when discipline has to come into play.
Right.
Out of love.
So the more I think about it, the more I think also, when that discipline becomes necessary from a divine sense, that I think because God is this perfectly heavenly Father, perfectly loving Father, that it is so, it's a scalpel, not a machete. It's not blunt. It's not mean-spirited. It is the precise amount of discipline, the precise amount of understanding that is necessary for the correction. And so with Evangeline, as a child, we have tried to orient disciplining her, bringing judgment on something like that, to what's necessary to communicate either safety and keeping her safe or helping her be the best human, the version of herself that she was made to be or whatever. But it's a tool. It's not the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. I like that. It's just, if you're trying to help somebody correct their course.
Right.
Sometimes just the slightest adjustment on the steering wheel,
right?
Just a tiny, moving just to the right, just a little bit.
Yes.
Can fix that. The longer it stays off, the more 1 degree,
right.
we go further into the shoulder and off into the ditch.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, like when
I think because we've gone into a focus about the judgment or about the discipline, we've allowed this sense of maybe harshness to set in. So, as the scriptures say, no discipline is joyful or happy at the time, but it's all useful for directing us. And so there's a thing that we've lost in this where we think of as a discipline as this mean-spirited, what Brennan Manning would call the referee or the judge or something who's just hammering down all the time, who's getting a joy out of being this caustic, harsh person.
Right.
And sometimes if we have a parent like that, that's what translates into our image of God. But the reality of it is the real picture of discipline or the real picture of judgment is this course correction, this thing that is done as an act of love to bring us actually closer to the person of God, not further. It's an act of love to help us bring more out of us, not less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about discipline and it isn't fun at the time, when you're going through it. But did you ever have this experience? Well, I shouldn't ask it that way. Let me say, I had this experience occasionally where I had to have a parent discipline me for something that I needed as a kid. And my heart at the time, especially when we got to the age of where you would get grounded.
Yeah.
Because they're having to take, you have to have a currency with kids, right?
Yes.
And take away something that's important to them. So it was more painful than when you're little and you might have gotten a SWAT or something like that.
Right.
It was like, I'm sorry, you can't go to this special event, you know? And that didn't happen super often for me, but the times it had to happen, I was heartbroken at that consequence. But after all of that was sort of reconciled and I understood that it was done from love, I actually felt closer to that parent.
Right.
It's this weird thing.
Yeah.
That sometimes discipline or course correction makes you feel closer once you accept it.
Right.
And did you ever have an experience like that, or have you had that with Evangeline where?
Sure. Yeah.
You'll think you're going to crush her life, and then after it's accepted, her head's back on your shoulder.
Yeah,
you know,
going through middle school and being a teenager is not an easy thing. It's not. It's not for the lighthearted. For sure.
Not. And people used to always say that in these days, but man, there's like all the things we dealt with.
Yes.
As a teenager, and then just like a whole other layer of things.
Well, at the age that she is now, I mean, not only is your body going through changes and your mind is going through changes, and there's hormones and things that are going nuts, and your brain is developing, and then you go to middle school, and that's a whole other series of people who are in the same emotional boat you're in.
All
so there's
kinds
just
of
a lot
home
of
situations.
stuff. Yeah, and it's a long daggone day.
Yeah.
And it's everything. And so you get there and you're physically depleted. So it's not a surprise that sometimes by the time she gets home,
you need a detox period.
She's less pleasant than we'd like her to be.
But she gets back to herself.
Yeah, and so,
I think that's typical.
Even like last night, I drew her attention to the way that she was kind of unintentionally treating us in the moment. And she was treating us that way out of her fatigue and out of her frustration and all that kind of stuff. And so I drew her attention to the fact of you don't need to treat us that way or speak to us that way.
We weren't at school today.
All that stuff, And she did not respond with, "Oh, thanks, Dad," or "Oh, I'm sorry," or whatever. But when we sat down on the couch to watch a show together, something like that, I noticed that she was really, really affectionate at that moment. And without so many words, the words would have been helpful at some point. That's a whole other series. But I knew that what we had communicated in that discipline was the right amount, and it registered for her. Now, I could have been harsh, and in the previous generations, and you and I talk about this a lot, in our generation, someone would have been slapped for X, Y, or Z, or they'd have been, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so, there was a lot of that when we were coming up, not just for us, but for our friends and all that kind of stuff. And still today, there's a lot of that stuff. And you can really be harsh with discipline, or you can really be harsh with judgment at a time. But, we really try to do things at the level that's right, at the level that's necessary for achieving the awareness and the change that needs to happen without damaging someone.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about even now the scripture that comes from the Old Testament, which used to really get quoted a lot in the 90s when we were coming up. And
it was a fave.
So it was this thing about...
Did we have a T-shirt with the scripture on it?
There's this thing about the scripture, it might have been a proverb or something like that, that says that... there's a blacksmith who has been tasked with developing a tool or a weapon that will do its purpose.
That's forged for you.
Yeah, it's a weapon or a thing that's forged to do a work in you, but it won't destroy you.
Yeah.
And so even in saying that, I'm reminded of this other proverb that says that the wounds of a friend can be trusted.
Yeah.
So there's an enemy that multiplies kisses, but then there's this friend, these people that we trust, and the wounds from that friend, the things that they say that sometimes hurt us, sometimes cut us a little bit, those wounds can be trusted. And the wounds that come from God, from the Father, from Jesus, those are things that we can trust, and that will actually end up doing a work in us, that will actually end up producing good in us. That's difficult in the time, but in the end, it will produce this amazing work in us.
Yes, and I think that discipline is interesting because I know there have been situations in my life and in your life and our life together that we could list where something for me was maybe off in my heart, a way that I was not handling something the right way. It could have been a behavior, it could have been a motivation that wasn't as golden as it should have been.
Right.
And then I would see God come in and sort of discipline or try to make a slight course correction.
Yeah. I really like that term, the course correction.
Yeah. And if I received that in the earlier stages, it was a pretty quick fix.
Right.
But if I were to continue to persist in that, then the discipline and the consequences got worse.
More difficult. Right.
It's like if you think of the metaphor of driving a car, you know, course correction, right? You're 1 degree off with the steering wheel. Well, if somebody says, hey, you need to straighten up. Hey, you need to straighten up your wheel here to keep going. So if on the third time you say, oh man, yeah, okay, you pull back,
right.
You straighten up, and you receive that. Maybe your fender gets a little grass in it from the, or you get some mud on it from something.
Yeah.
But and I felt this in my own life sometimes, if God continues and I'm not receiving that, and I'm not listening, and I'm not taking it as the love that's granted, I will end up in a ditch.
Yeah.
Or I will end up with my car flipped over.
Right.
And so I can name situations in my life, now that I think back about it, where I could see that God was disciplining me for love, helping with a course correction. And there are times I went with it early, and it was an easy fix. And then there were times where I wrecked my car.
Right.
Yeah.
But the orientation of that is love. Like if you go back and you go back to Genesis, and again, we talk about, you can take Genesis and as I choose to, as kind of a poem or a parable or a picture. I don't take it literally 6 days and this, and this. I take it as, this is a picture of who God is, what his intention was. It's a picture of his power, of his majesty, of being able to do these things and create this stuff and all that kind of stuff. The timeline and all that stuff you can look at however you want to. But I do think it's interesting that when you go back and you look at the romance of God creating the world, the love, the care, the sense of wonder, the sense of magnificence in that, and then him like an artist stepping back on each step and saying, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
so light comes in and the sun comes in and the moon comes in and the universe has light all of a sudden. You can call that the Big Bang, you can call it whatever you want, but it happens. Bang.
Yeah.
And then he looks at it and he says, oh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that. I like this. I like where this is going. I like this. And then he does the next thing, and the next thing happens, and he steps back and he looks at it and says, oh, this is good. Mm-hmm. And so that's the orientation. I want this. I'm going to create this. And I am doing a good job as an artist doing this. And I love this. And this is good. And then there are things that happen from that point on that are, whether that separation that happens and however we look at that stuff with Adam and Eve and what we would call original sin and on and on. Those are reactionary or responsive movements to that.
Yeah.
But there was never the story. The story was not the original sin. The story was not the judgment. The story was, let's create something here. Let's start with this beautiful thing. Let's start with this orientation of love. And then even in the steps that happen after that, so Adam and Eve, and then Cain and Abel, and then Cain kills Abel, and then God says, okay, well, you can't stay here in this moment anymore. You have to, it's not safe for you here. It's not safe for the garden for you to be here. And I don't want this to happen, but you have to leave this place now. Right. That's part of the discipline. That's part of the judgment. Yeah. And Cain says, I'm scared to leave, and if I leave, they'll kill me. I don't know who they are because, that's all part of the mystery of it. But he says, if I leave here, they'll kill me. And then God says, no, I won't let that happen to you. Mm-hmm. So did Cain screw up? Did Cain lie? Was Cain embittered? Was he envious and jealous and all kinds of these evil traits in us? Did he behave badly? Yeah. Did he break all the laws and murder?
Yeah,
he did all that. And yet in that judgment, in that discipline, is this compassion, is this mercy and love. And so it was never about judgment. It was never about the original sin. It was never, that's not the storyline. The storyline is creation, animation, breathing life and some beauty in the start of this story, this origin story.
Yeah.
And that's the way that story continues from Genesis into the place that we're living even now.
Yeah. I think about, when you have a little kid, and there's a lot of things that they don't understand. I mean, with every year that they grow, they are able to take in more of the world around them and understand that. But, you've got a kid who you're out trying to cross a street, I was thinking, and then they run out. They're not able to see because you're taller and you can see over the other cars and you can see across these things that are coming to hurt them.
Yes.
And so that child, when you say stop, has a choice.
Right.
And the choice is to either A, trust that you have their best in mind and know my dad loves me. If he's saying stop, there's a reason.
Right.
And coming back to him. Or you can, like we all do sometimes, walk out into the street. Right. You hear your dad say stop and you say, man, I'm tired of you not letting me have a good time. I'm going to do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And then you get smashed. Right. That was a terrible metaphor. Yeah. But my point is, it makes sense, right?
Yes. But the orientation is
it's love. It's somebody that is taller than you.
Right.
And has a view that's higher than yours.
Absolutely.
And can see all the other circumstances.
There's a trust that happens in that.
Is tipping you off. Right. And so we have that choice every day.
Yeah.
To say, okay, I feel like this is where I need to be.
Right.
Or this is what I should stop doing.
Yes.
Or this is what I should start doing.
Right.
And I can either say, man, I'm sick of you laying all this down on me.
Right.
Or I can, because of the relationship and the love and the friendship that we've had over the years, I can say, man, this doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me right now. But I feel like I need to stop and I will trust you.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I need to start,
So, so I'm thinking about how, here it is. And God says, okay, how do I want to be known? How do I want to be defined? And so, first of all, that he sets himself up as a father, as a caregiver, as someone who is, in love with his family and taking care of it. But then he literally defines himself as love. He becomes our context for what is love. How are you going to describe love? Well, love prefers others. Love takes care of others. Love forgives. Love is compassionate. Love is supportive. So that's how we know what love is because God has shown us. But it shows us that's how I want to be known. I am defined as I am love. Mm-hmm. And then in the Old Testament, and that's how, that's even way back when in the Old Testament, he talks about this stuff. But then he sets up these rules and the intention of these rules are for protection, keeping people safe. And yes, there's a whole lot of social connection to that, as well. But somehow as humans, we really gravitated towards the rules and the judgment part of stuff. And we loved delving out judgment. We loved giving judgment. We loved executing judgment. Yeah. And so when Jesus arrives physically on the planet and he says, I don't know where you get this picture of God, but it's wrong. Yeah. And let me paint this composite of who he is. God does the unexpected. God loves mercy over judgment. Yeah. God loves to forgive, and let me show you what that forgiveness looks like. It is relentless. It's 70 times 7 every day. God is this loving person who just continues to wear out love, and on and on and on. And so Jesus keeps trying to reorient our picture. We've weighted it so heavily on judgment. We weighted it so heavily on discipline and the fear of judgment and the fear that would happen if we screwed up and all that stuff, that we were really missed out and have missed out on this love relationship and the motive of it, and the fact that judgment is simply a tool, and in the hands of God, it's this really precise tool that accomplishes a goal, not this blunt sledgehammer, not this machete, not this giant swath of wrath. So, part of that has come out in our culture. Things happen for us as, whether it's 9/11 or a natural disaster, fires or hurricanes or something like that, and then someone will come on air and there'll be a preacher and they'll say, well, this is God's wrath.
Oh, gosh.
This is God's discipline because of this people group or that people group, or because
and
we're
it's
not.
usually directed toward someone earning that.
Yeah. And so the reality is, yes, we can do things that harm ourselves. We can do things that get in the way, all that kind of stuff. But I don't believe those things. You're not getting the cancer because of X, Y, or Z. You're not getting the diagnosis because of X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Yes, you can smoke and harm yourself and end up doing something. Yes, you can smoke and get emphysema. Yes, you can do these things and cause heart disease. Yes, you can hurt your brain from too much drinking, all those kinds of things. But those are a cause and effect thing. It's not because God's so mad at you and he's going to show you because of judgment. And we have this picture of judgment as an anger thing, as a mean thing. And I don't believe that's God's image of judgment or his image of discipline. I think he views it as this carefully executed thing to rescue someone he loves and help in a scenario.
Well, I didn't think that this conversation will go this direction, and maybe we'll save this. You have the right to say that's another whole other podcast.
Okay.
But in the way that we grew up, there was this concept that when we died and got to heaven, that God's grace, of course, is there for us. And, that's why we're in heaven, because he's good. But that we would stand by the judgment throne.
Right.
And it's a concept to me that doesn't fit very well anymore, I guess, that we would have to be accountable for every single bad deed or word. I'm going to guess that was exaggerated based on what's in Scripture.
Right.
I don't understand any of that, but I think sometimes we take that concept and we try to put it down here. I mean, I think when we do get to be with a Father, there'll be so much joy.
Right.
And all fear in his presence would be removed. So even if there were some things that we saw differently because we were in his presence, that's still the beauty of that love, and that the knowingness that we're okay would be part of that. Do you ever think about that?
Well, what I'm thinking about...
Fun thoughts?
No, what I'm thinking about as you're saying that, or what comes to mind or heart when you're saying that, is immediately the picture of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Who, in the picture that Jesus gives us, and this composite of God he's trying to paint for us, he says, here's what it looks like. Even while he was a long way off.
Yeah.
Even before he had confessed and said anything or done anything right or any of that stuff. The dad who was watching for the son's return, the dad saw his son a far way off, a long way off, ran to his son who had done everything wrong, who had squandered everything he'd been given, everything that the dad. So if you look at it in the context of the picture, here's this guy, this dad who has built this wealth from his sweat and blood, labored for this. He's the one that did all the work. He's the one that built this wealth up. He's the one that sacrificed and did all this. And then when his sons came of age, one of them says, I want my half. I want my inheritance now. And the dad, for whatever reason, says, okay. And then he takes everything that his dad has worked so hard for, which cannot be retrieved, which cannot be undone.
You can't get the money back.
You can't get that money back. It's gone now. So all those hours of labor are gone now. And yet it was the son that was the object of affection. It was the son that was the most important.
Yeah.
This is the son that was dead and is now alive, and this is all I want. And so...
And the father didn't say, by the way, you did this, and this.
You're going to work this off.
And do you remember when you said this and when you did this? To me, that doesn't line up with the
Right. So we have this thing where we say
unconditional love, I feel.
We have this thing where we say, okay, yes, I believe that this relationship we have with God and with Jesus is kind of this threefold thing. One is the scriptures that we have, which are so important. And as your dad would say, sometimes you have to have something that's bigger than the way you feel to hold on to. Then we have this sense of community because I can have thoughts in my own mind that seem brilliant on my own, but when I talk to you about them,
I'll let you know they're stupid.
yeah, there's a little bit of light that comes to it. I think that actually doesn't make sense. And then there's this personal connection we have, this relationship thing I have with God, with Jesus that I talk to and all that stuff. And so there are things in my personal relationship that help me understand scriptures now. If I just read the scriptures straight without any relationship part, then yeah, we're all screwed.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in there.
And there's also confusing parts of it.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. And there's also parts where it seems like it kind of contradicts itself and all that kind of stuff. So if all you have is the scriptures, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mess for you. And if all you have is this experiential part of your relationship, which kind of goes and wherever our emotions go, well, then you're in a bad spot. And if you're on your own and you don't have any community, you're in a bad spot. So all three of these things I think are really critical to healthy spiritual life and relationships. So yeah, I remember thinking a couple of years ago about this whole picture of hell and this whole picture of judgment and this whole picture of this kind of perverted sense of judgment as we understand it now, and thinking all of that harshness is completely antithetical to the person that I know, Jesus.
Yeah.
All of that is completely antithetical to this experience I've personally had of grace. Yeah. And the perfect amount of discipline and a discipline and a judgment that's been doled out in love.
Very gingerly.
Not this kind of fire and brimstone second Charlton Heston reference today.
Whoa, this is a big day.
And, not that picture. That doesn't connect with me now. And now when I read the scriptures and I read the Gospels, I read it in the voice of Jesus that I know in my own heart and mind. So like a couple of years ago, we did an independent film called Left Town, and there was a character in there whose name was Hanny. The character's name was Hanny, and I wrote that character for an actor that was a friend of ours, Morris McCorvey.
Shout out to Morris.
Shout out to Morris. And but I wrote it with his voice in mind, and when I wrote the script, I wrote it hearing his voice say those lines.
That was the filter.
Yeah, that's how I read. That's how I read the scriptures now to an extent, and how I read the Gospels. I read it with the voice of Jesus as I know him. And I don't need Jesus to be who I want him to be. I need him to be who he is, and then I'll catch up. But that has drastically changed. If I don't read it in that voice, then it can be very confusing and very harsh. And very,
It's like getting a text from somebody without any emojis or an email. The kids call it a dry texter. Wow. So if somebody's a dry texter, that means they don't have a lot of emotion in it. Okay. So you might have a good conversation with them, but then you text, "Hey, how was your day?" And they're like, "Fine."
Yeah, as opposed to fine.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? Everything's all right. Or everything's all right. I mean, it's
everything's
so
okay.
Inflection, you know, and knowing that person and how they come over is a lot of it. And I mean, fear never won anybody over.
No.
Judgment never wins anybody over.
But it shapes how we see the divine. It shapes the overarching view of who God is for us. So if we are really weighted towards judgment, if we are really weighted towards fear, if we're really weighted towards discipline, then that is the shape of our composite of who God is. Yeah. And as John would say, the one who fears has not been made perfect by love. Yeah. And that's his orientation to it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And the interesting thing about when we have that perspective, that judgment, discipline, slant on everything, we really want other people to get theirs.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's just like, well, if I'm going to keep my crap together all the time, I already said one cuss word, so I went with crap there. But if I'm going to be working so hard and keep everything together and not get to do this and that, then the second anybody fails slightly, we're the first to post online about it. Yeah.
We're so
to think in our hearts.
When you go back to the Gospels and you look at this love relationship that people had with discipline and with judgment and for executing judgment on people, I think the context of that for us in a modern parlance is
Nice use of parlance.
is the sense that somebody's going to get over. Someone's going to get over if we don't hold these reins tightly.
Someone's going to get over on us.
They're going to get over on God. They're going to get over. They're just going to throw off restraint. They're just going to sin left and right. They're just going to live with this wild abandon. And the reality is, yes, I do fear the consequences of bad choices I make in my life, and that is a motivator. Mm-hmm. Cancer is a motivator. Alzheimer's or dementia is a motivator.
Diabetes.
Hurting the person of God is a motivator. Mm-hmm. And knowing that there are, quote, ramifications for the choices and decisions I make, those things motivate me. But also what motivates me is the love I have for this person. I don't do things towards you out of fear for the most part. What I do is because I love you. I say, okay, I need to change this or do this, or I make choices based on my love for you. Yeah, which is a whole separate motivation than fear. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
They can work hand in hand in the proper relationship and I hate to say balance, but kind of like that. But in my relationship with you, it's not about judgment. Yeah. It's not about fear. It's not about things. When I married you, my motivation was because I love you. I want to spend time with you. Yeah. It wasn't for fear of something else.
Yeah, definitely.
When God made me, He didn't make me as the apple of His eye, saying, I can't wait to discipline this kid. Yeah, I can't wait to execute judgment and put this person under my thumb. Yeah. I can't wait to be harsh with this person. I can't wait to create this resplendent race and then force them into this harsh disciplinary relationship that makes them fear that they'll never know me fully. Right. That was never the thing,
So what do we do if we find ourselves struggling with feeling like God is judging us or being over disciplinary? If our prism, because of maybe the way that we were treated by a parent or some tough circumstances we've had in life is skewed that way, how do we shift our thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I think this is something that, people struggle with.
I think maybe it starts with our conversations with God. And, as I've encouraged us in the past and you have encouraged us in the past, I think this idea of talking to God out loud helps. Yeah. But just saying to God, again, and I say this is a regular prayer for me. God, I don't need you to be who I want you to be. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to conform in my mind to being this person. I need you to be who you are and help me to see that. And I believe that's why I continue to hear something like it was never about judgment. That was never the goal. That was never the intention. That's God course correcting me because that's my orientation. I naturally gravitate towards that at some level. So it's Him saying that was never the picture. That was never the other thing. So I can also be honest with Him in my conversations with Him and saying, I feel like this judgment thing is always present. I feel like you're always disappointed in me. I feel like you're always mad at me. And I don't know what that is because I don't feel that when I feel your love for other people. Yeah. I don't think about other people in that light. But when it comes to the way you see me, that's how I see it most of the time. Yeah. Can you please help me? Yeah. Would you please help me? Would you help me? I want to enjoy your love for me fully. And would you please get rid of anything in my thinking or in my heart that gets in the way of that? I want to fully enjoy this gift. You and I, love to give gifts to Evangeline. And one of the great joys is to give her something that A, she really loves, and that B, she loves using, and you get to see her enjoy the use of that. And that you think, oh my gosh, like you buy her the cozy sweatshirt or the pajamas or the gift or the toy or whatever.
We actually have to hold back because it's so easy to see things that, The
worst thing is to give her something that she doesn't understand, that she can't use, that frustrates her, that she can't get her mind around, that she doesn't care about. So God's love for us is a gift. His acceptance of us is a gift. His feelings towards us are his gift. And I think he wants us to enjoy those fully. So saying, would you please help me with this?
Yeah. I was reading something this morning because, I'm super spiritual. So I have a very long devotional. No, that is not true.
Right.
But I had this little book that I was reading after, I tried to pray and meditate. And it was really interesting because the book itself is basically about the art of being still, which is really interesting. And it's written by a Dutch author. And so I like to read things sometimes that aren't written by Americans just because there's whole other perspectives in life. But
is it in Dutchies? Is that?
Yes, it's in Dutchies, which I speak. So
I
that
speak
works.
fluent Dutchies, so it makes a lot of sense to me. You might have to get a translation, but
yeah. But anyway, it's these different ways that you can learn to be more still and to rest, and I'm like, in God, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Is it just a one thing where it just says, "Don't move"?
Just shh. That's all it says.
Just 12 pages of nonstop essay.
Just shh, which is good. I need that sometimes. No, she was actually quoting, this author was quoting somebody else, and it said, this is interesting because I've got to do music, actually at church later today. So I was trying to be in a position of hearing what might seem right to help encourage other people. So you kind of get in that zone. And, and this author quoted someone who said, you need to pray this 3 times a day. And I thought, when I first read that sentence, I was like, okay, here we go.
No, thank you.
Yeah. But it was so sweet. And basically it said, God, show me how much you love me today.
Wow. Yeah, man.
And I was like, that's about the only thing I'm going to pray 3 times a day. But it was so sweet.
Yeah.
And he said, this is medicine. And I thought, wow, it was even weird to pray that.
Yeah.
God, show me how much you love me today. And then to pray it in the morning, and to pray it in the midday, and to pray it in the evening.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to try to start doing that because when we are secure and we feel God's pleasure in who we are, in the way that he made us, and we feel loved by him, that's when we trust him. When he says, don't run into the street, and we say, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it's love. So the more we can ask God to show us that and to become rooted in his love for us, the more we will see the way he actually is doling out in little graceful snippets the discipline we need to keep us on course.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's great insight. Yeah. Yeah. So to me, it's, as we say, as we're closing out here, that it was never about judgment. Judgment was just simply the small tool.
Becomes necessary.
It just got a lot more press.
Yeah.
The orientation is God in Genesis. Oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy I made this. Oh, I'm so happy that look at this. This is great.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
That's the orientation. From the beginning, it has been and continues to be, even with all the mistakes and all the mess and all the yelling and all the crap. The orientation is still, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love these people. Oh, I love this person. It really hurts my heart that they're hurting, but I love these people.
Yeah.
So the orientation is love. The orientation is want. The orientation is, oh, man. And I need to, not to go down this again or as we're closing out, but, even God's saying that even when things are good, because it's good, he does some discipline. He does what he calls pruning.
Yeah.
Like you go through and there's this plant that's alive in your house in a pot. It's great.
Yeah.
And then there's this one little leaf, it gets a little death on it. So you kind of clip that off.
Yeah.
And you go over here and there's a little plant that's kind of getting a little, over here, and you kind of clip that off and you just prune it.
Too long, too gangly.
Well, that's just discipline. That's what discipline looks like. It's so the plant can be healthier. It's so the plant will grow more. So the plant can be even more vibrant.
Yes.
You just discipline over here.
Yeah.
You prune this, cut this.
But if we were to say, don't cut my tiny branch.
But if you were to say, it's all about cutting the dead stuff.
Yeah.
Just all you ever do is just cut dead stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to find more dead stuff. Well, that's not the orientation at
No.
all. The orientation is, this is brilliant. How do I make this more brilliant? Yeah. Oh, this is alive. How do I make this more alive?
Yeah.
This is good. How do I even make it so much more?
Yeah.
And that's the motivation.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the scissors. It's the plant. It's the light. It's the thing. It's the life in there. and not the discipline, not the judgment. So.
Yeah, I love that.
Mystics, this has been so fun and such a great conversation. Thank you for staying with us in it. Make sure that you mark your calendars for March 13th and join us in person, face-to-face, at the Dreamers Live event. And make sure that you send us your email address so that we can add you to the Dreamery newsletter.
Yay.
And then we'll see you on our next episode.
Yes, I'm going to go pray. God, show me how much you love me today.
We all should. It's a good practice to get into. We love you, Mystics. We'll see you next time.
See you.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode. And remember, continue this conversation with someone you know. This is Pioneer Dream.